All right, guys, so here we are 4 weekends in, and the Mario movie is now sitting at above $1 billion at the global box office. Today, we're going to talk about 3 different things. The first thing we're going to talk about is the box office numbers to date. I'm just going to talk about how the movie's been doing, how it did this past weekend. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is some of the records that the Mario movie has broken since it's been released. We're just going to go over some of those records and why they're so significant. And lastly, we're going to talk about why Disney should seriously be taking notice and take Mario seriously. Why should Disney be worried about the success of this Mario movie? We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So without further ado, let's dive right into the box office numbers. Now, with tons and tons of websites talking about everything Mario has done, let's take a look at what Deadline has reported. Peaches and Green, Super Mario Bros. Movie tops 1 billion worldwide, smashes studio records in Japan, international box office. Now, if you guys seen any of my previous videos, I discussed thoroughly how big of a market Japan was going to be, and well, I was right. So let's take a look at this. The Super Mario movie has got super game as it levels up to cross 1 billion at the global box office through Sunday. It now becomes the 10th animated film in history to cross the 1 billion mark worldwide, and is the 10th biggest animated film of all time globally, overtaking Despicable Me 2 and Minions Rise of Gru. The Super Mario Bros. Movie is the third Illumination title to hit the $1 billion mark. The Juggernaut powered up to an additional 68.3 million this session in 80 overseas markets, bringing its international receipts to date through Sunday to 532.5 million worldwide. That estimate through today now is sitting at $1.022 billion. Notably, Japan opened this weekend on 776 screens. The start was a huge 14.3 million to score the biggest opening weekend ever for an animated studio movie, as well as the biggest Saturday box office in Universal history, topping Jurassic World Dominion. In only 2 days, Super Mario became the fastest Universal film to reach 1 billion yen. And the weekend result is the biggest Universal opening of all time. Now, looking at the all-time worldwide box office Universal movie numbers, if you take a look, Mario right now sits at number 8. And this is just its, 4th weekend at the box office. So it's sitting at number 8 with over $1 billion. It's most likely going to pass up, obviously Despicable Me and Jurassic Park in the next week. And then in the following week, it will most likely move up that list and pass Minions as well. Honestly, Fate of the Furious is probably in its sights, making it the 4th biggest Universal release of all time at the box office. So that's very, very interesting to see. And actually, it's kind of insane if you take a look at those numbers and think about what this movie is going to end up doing. Something that's really insane, actually, is if you take a look at Fate of the Furious, at its domestic take, it was only at around 225 million at the domestic box office, while it's overseas, it made over $1 billion. So the majority of that movie's take was overseas, and even the same thing with Despicable Me 3. Whereas with Super Mario, you can see it has a global take. It's pretty even. The international number is sitting at 532, while the domestic number is currently at 490, and that's going to jump up to 500 before the end of the week. Here's some of those records. So far, it's the highest grossing opening weekend of 2023. So it had the biggest opening over any other movie this year. It's the highest grossing Wednesday to Sunday opening weekend of all time. So from Wednesday to Sunday, this has the biggest box office take. It also has the highest grossing opening weekend for an animated film ever. That's insane. Mario came in and took that spot from Disney. And it's also the highest opening weekend ever for a video game movie. That bar wasn't set high anyways. Also, it's the highest grossing video game film adaptation of all time after just 4 weekends at the box office. And it's currently sitting at the number 19 spot at the all-time domestic list. So when it's all said and done, if I had to guess, it'll likely rest somewhere closer to the top 10. Keep in mind, it's only in its 4th weekend, and it brought in about $40 million this weekend. And compared to last weekend, the 3rd weekend, it brought in 60. So these drop-offs aren't that huge. Now, Guardians is on its way out, so we'll take a look and see what happens next weekend. for Mario. Now guys, let's talk a little bit about why Disney should be concerned with all the success that Nintendo, Universal, and Illumination are getting. Disney right now is dealing with a ton of controversy when it comes to their films, with some people saying that the subliminal messaging happening in their films isn't boding well with fans. For an example, Lightyear had some messaging in it that parents and fans just weren't fans of, and the box office results for that movie showcase that. With Guardians Around the Corner and Elements, these are two films that Disney needs to have success with. With Guardians, this is going to showcase if that comic book fatigue that people were feeling with Marvel films is a real thing. And with Elements not doing well, if it doesn't, then their animated films are also going to be hurting. Take into consideration the viewership numbers for Mandalorin as well. And if all three of Disney's pillars are hurting, we're talking about their Marvel films, Star Wars, and their animated films. This is going to be extremely concerning for the executives over at Disney. All right, guys, that is it. That was my real perspective. I'd love to hear yours. Sound off below, and let's talk about how this Mario movie is doing. If you guys enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button and subscribe to get more videos just like this one. I'll see you guys later. Peace.